Barevzes. We have a visitor, an inspiring visitor from California with us today, Candace Cable, who is a Paralympian with a great sports history and sports success. Candace, thanks very much for coming to Yerevan. We're just delighted to meet you here. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, sir. It's my honor and my pleasure to be here.
I wonder if you could tell us a little bit of your story. Tell us about yourself.
So I grew up in Southern California as a pretty active outdoor kid that loved hiking in the mountains and being in the ocean. At the age of 21, I was in a car accident because I'd gotten in a car with someone who had been drinking alcohol against my own best idea of what was good for me. And it resulted in a spinal cord injury at the age of 21 in 1975. And only when I found some wheelchair sports did I start to blossom again, like this beautiful picture here.
Well, how do you win 9 gold medals and 6 Boston marathons? Tell us a little bit about that. How did you do that? Your arms must be very strong. How did you win all those medals?
I really needed to rebuild my self-esteem. It had been completely destroyed by the accident, and I had no idea how I would do that. But I met some other people in wheelchairs, and they were playing some sports. And wheelchair racing was one of the sports in the late 70s that was being invented. And I became a pioneer of that sport. So what happened for me once I, did one race and got around the corner, it was such a sense of accomplishment. I realized that I was going to be able to create a really strong power in myself and move forward and do something else with my life rather than feel sorry for myself and wait for other people to do things for me.
A couple of Armenians have participated in the Paralympics. I know you've met a couple, and I think a young man named Maher Avanesyan is competing in Sochi in March. Tell me a little bit about the Armenians that you've met who have participated in the Paralympics.
The Paralympians here, one of the things that I noticed for them is they need support. They need the rest of the country to see what their sport is about.
Tell me about the NGOs that you met.
NGOs have been actually very active here. They have policy. They have policy support where they go in and talk to the policymakers and help them decide how's best to create this inclusion for people with disabilities. One of the practices with that is that people with disabilities are included in policymaking. And so one of the buzz lines is nothing about us without us.
Any thoughts on more that Armenia could do in terms of accessibilities or maybe even changing the mindset of people? A word on that?
Well, I think one of the things we have to start to think about right off the top is 2 things, and we've talked about this, is universal design. Globally, it's one of the catchphrases that we're using out there, so it's inclusive, right? Universal design means it works for everyone. And a really good example is the door handle. The round door handles, work if you have pretty good grip. But if you're a person who has arthritic hands, that would be challenging. Levers, they're working for everyone.
Just push down or pull.
For everyone, absolutely.
The other term that I learned from you, which is also, I think, a compelling one, is this idea of life experience.
Right.
That disability is nothing special. We're all going to be disabled at some point in our lives. Tell us a little bit about that.
Exactly. Creating an inclusive society that's universally designed is not about us and them. We're doing it for those people with disabilities. It's about we're doing it for us. Because disability is a life experience. We're all going to experience it on some level. Even when you have depression, you still have a disability because you're not engaged in society. You're not engaged in your life. You're withdrawing. So you're limited. And I think if people begin to think about disability as this life experience, because I like to say it's not if it's going to happen to you, it's when.
Any last words for Armenia? Thank you so much for the visit. What's your last word to the Armenian people?
Well, I would say that, people have no idea what they're capable of. I've had people say to me that they don't know if they could do what I'm doing. And honestly, human beings love a challenge. And until we're challenged, we have no idea what we can do.
Շնորհակալություն։ Հուսով եմ կհանդիպենք Facebook-ում եւ Twitter-ում։